Well, we can go ahead and get started today. We have a lot of great information to get through, and others can join us as they log on. So thank you all for joining us for our low cost, no cost technology session. We're very excited to have Brian Norton from Easterseals Crossroads with us today. He has a lot of great information to share. Just a little bit of housekeeping. During the session today, your cameras and microphones are turned off. If you do have a question or would like to share something, please do that in the question and answer or chat buttons at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to questions at the end of this presentation. So I'm also wanted to let everybody know that our sponsor today is Easterseals ARC, our ARC chapter in Fort Wayne. So we want to thank them for their sponsorship. Because of all of our sponsors for the conference, all of the sessions have been are able to be provided free of charge. So we're very grateful for that as well. So Brian, I will turn it over to you and let you get started.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you for inviting me to be here with you guys today. Really excited to be able to kind of take the next hour or so and kind of talk about low cost, no cost AT solutions, specifically in this COVID-19 edition of it, as we kind of deal with the pandemic and everything that's gone on these past 9 months or so. There's been a lot been going on. And so just wanted to be able to kind of cover this topic, just to give you a little bit of information about who I am. Oops, let me go back to this slide. My name is Brian Norton. I'm the Director of Assistive Technology at Easterseals Crossroads. I started about 24 years ago at Easterseals Crossroads as an employment consultant, and have kind of grown up in the assistive technology world through some different roles at Easterseals Crossroads, providing different types of workplace, school, home accommodations for quite a long time. Just find a real passion for what I get to do, and helping people be able to see and experience more independence wherever they might find themselves, whether that's at work, at school, at home, or at play. And so hopefully that gives you kind of a better understanding of who I am and can kind of frame some of the conversation that we'll have throughout the rest of this hour. I certainly want to make sure that we have time for questions either throughout or at the end, because I think in all presentations, what I really want to do is to make sure that you're getting the information that you're looking for. And so hopefully I can get you guys your questions answered and throughout it as we go through our presentation today. Just to talk a little bit about what our agenda, we have an agenda that's chock full of information. We're going to take just a few moments to kind of look at assistive technology, kind of define it a little bit, talk about some assistive technology resources, services that you can tap into to be able to help and get your hands on technology during this time. I'm going to talk about some of the stuff that's right here in front of us. Built-in accessibility, whether you're using a Windows computer, a Mac computer, or if you have a tablet or mobile device, there are many, many built-in accessibility tools right there on your fingertips when you use your computer or tablet or phone each and every day. Going to talk a little bit about ergonomic considerations for home. We're all maybe working from home a lot more these days, if not solely at home these days. And so wanted to be able to kind of talk a little bit about what you might be able to do at home to be able to better meet your needs, to get seated and positioned more correctly so that you can be more productive at home. And then I think the two things that I know people think about, especially during this time, but I think emphasis should be put on those is the mental wellness piece of what's happening with COVID-19, and then also staying social. How do you stay connected with others? We'll talk about some solutions and options in both of those arenas as well. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and just jump in. So what is assistive technology? And there is a dictionary definition, but I like a little bit of the layman terms that I've used all my life. And it's really, I think, everything and anything that helps someone do something they wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And so it can take on lots of different shapes and sizes. You'll often hear things referred to as high-tech, mid-tech, low-tech, or even no-tech assistive technology, where you might think of software and devices that need to be manufactured and have some electronic components. Those are high-end AT. But then you could also look at the very low end of that and look at a block of wood or a 2020 pen, one of those Sharpie markers, as a way for someone to be able to better see what's being written. So there's a lot of different types of tools. You'll hear it in a lot of different arenas in different ways, either high tech, mid tech, or low tech, or even no tech. To give you some examples of no tech solutions, I would argue a kind of a block of wood. You may have heard me say this if you've been in my presentations before, but block of wood would be assistive technology, especially if you're using it to be able to raise a desk or a bed or some piece of furniture so that someone can get better access to whatever's there. So if a person's in a wheelchair and they need to pull up to a desk, sticking blocks of wood underneath it will raise it 3 or 4 inches and allow them to be able to be better positioned while they're using whatever piece of furniture you're trying to raise up. Another example of that would be a cup koozie. I'd gone out on accommodation years ago, came across an employment consultant who had come up with this particular accommodation for their individual. The individual worked in a call center. It was a cubicle type of environment and had a hard time hearing people on the phone. And so what they ended up doing is they cut that cup koozie in half and put it over the receiver as they would pick up their handset. And it would cut down on a lot of background noise as they would then use the phone. And then here's one of my personal favorites. This is an accommodation where someone used a yardstick, a rubber band, and a binder clip to be able to help someone. Again, very low-end technology, but they would take that. In order for this person to be able to get into a parking garage, they had to swipe their tag to be able to get the gate to raise up. And this particular individual had taken a yardstick, a binder clip, and a zip tie, and had put the name tag or their security badge on the end of it. And what was helpful for him is he had cerebral palsy, had limited range of motion and strength in his left side. So as he would try to reach out the window, that was a really difficult task. Well, now he could use his right arm, take that particular setup from his passenger seat, reach it across the steering wheel, and swipe himself in and out. Again, just a couple of examples of low assistive technology, no technology, simple solutions that were able to help someone be more independent. And again, so you're going to see it takes on lots of different shapes and sizes and may not even be considered necessarily in everyday life assistive technology, but it certainly can be used in those ways. The goal of assistive technology is got a lot of different reasons. A lot of times we're trying to kind of increase someone's efficiency or their effectiveness in being able to perform a particular task. Many times we're looking at decreasing the degenerative nature of a disability, looking at either supporting or replacing lost skills altered by illness, disease, or accident. Sometimes we're just trying to help them avoid injury, more injury on the job. But in all cases, I think here at Easterseals Crossroads, we stress the fact that assistive technology increases persons' independence. And again, that's in all areas of life. And so again, what's the big deal? I think for a lot of folks, persons without disabilities, I think sometimes I can take my technology for granted. You know, my alarm clock, my coffee maker, my smartphone, my computer. You know, my smartphone and my computer help me stay in contact with folks and communication with them all day long. And I don't even think about it. But sometimes when you think about technology, and for persons with disabilities, I think it can make things possible and open up lots of different doors for them. And then this is something that I always throw in here. It's important to recognize that one size doesn't fit all. And so when you're looking at assistive technology or any type of solution, one size doesn't fit all. If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. If you met one person with a particular type of mobility issue, you've met one person with a particular type of mobility issue. One size doesn't fit all. And oftentimes when thinking about assistive technology, having someone and trying out many different types of things with an individual can really help them be able to figure out what is the right type of device or right type of equipment for them to be able to use for a particular task. And so just thinking about everybody's unique. We all have our different skills and abilities. And most importantly, we all have our different preferences. I think that's something that's often overlooked with assistive technology too. Someone doesn't like something, they're never going to use it. And so they have to have somewhat of a preference to be able to use that particular device. And it's got to be functional to be able to meet that need. And just so some things to keep in mind, kind of framing what assistive technology is, um, and then really understanding a little bit about how to kind of implement that stuff with folks. So let me talk a little bit about some resources that are available for folks here in Indiana and outside of Indiana as well. The first is the NData project. I'm sure you guys have all probably heard of the NData project before, but if you haven't, the NData project is Indiana's Assistive Technology Act program. And so there are 56 programs just like ours across the whole United States and all of the US territories. There's a program in each one of those areas. And really, we're tasked with two things. The first thing is to spread the word about assistive technology, making sure people understand three things. The first is, what is assistive technology? The second is, how does it work? And then the third is, how do they get their hands on it, telling folks where they can go to get their hands on that technology. The second overall goal that we have with the NData project is we want to make sure we can get people's hands on it as well. It's important for people to touch it, feel it, and experience it in their everyday life to make sure it's really something that's going to work for them. And so we have a variety of ways to be able to get people's hands on technology too. It's important to recognize that the NData project is federally funded. The services that we provide are free services. So if you're not eligible for VR or other services, VA, those types of funding sources, this is a great way to be able to get some assistive technology assistance, kind of a self-guided assistive technology assistance through the NData project. And we'll talk about what those are and the ways that you can kind of interact with us. So the first thing we do is we talk about getting the information out. We want to make sure folks understand what assistive technology is, how it works, and where to get their hands on it. We have an information and referral line. It's 888. It's a toll-free number, so you can call anywhere in the state of Indiana. If you have an accommodation question, give us a call or send us an email. We have someone who will answer that and be able to refer you to somebody that can help. And so we have lots of services internally to NData and what we provide, but we also have lots of partnerships and relationships with outside organizations, and we can refer you over to them should you have a particular combination need. And this could be, I think when we think assistive technology, we think of computer access and other kinds of things. It goes way beyond that. You could, maybe you just broke your leg and you're having a trouble and difficulty navigating the first 3 steps of your house for a time being until you get your cast off or something like that. We have portable ramps available for folks. And so you can borrow a portable ramp from us. And so again, any kind of accommodation, let us know. Hopefully we can connect you to someone who can help. AT hours, we can do hands-on experiences, a little less hands-on, more remote these days, as we're doing today with our online conference. But we can jump into different support groups, give people kind of a little bit of a spiel about what NData is all about, but also cover different types of technologies with them, whatever would be important to those groups. Do lots of social media and podcasting. And then really full day trainings would be another way for you to engage with NData. NData does 4 to 5 assistive technology centric trainings each year. We've been streaming those online for a long time. And we're gonna have 3 or 4 this upcoming year, and we release that here in the next couple months once we get all of our T's crossed and our I's dotted with what our next slate of trainings are. But they're absolutely free. We do offer CEUs and other types of things that come with those, but something for you to be able to learn more just about assistive technology and how it fits into different areas of our life. So a few ways about how to get your hands on technology, and I think this is really the most important stuff. So you can listen to the other stuff, but really grab this and grasp what I'm talking about here, because I think this is where the rubber can hit the road for a lot of folks. We recognize that assistive technology is oftentimes expensive, and it's hard. You can't just run off to the corner store to be able to purchase it. And so what we have is we have a demo and loan program We have Justin Amber on your screen. He's our loan library coordinator. He and a couple of other folks on our team, um, they're in charge of a loan library. So think of it as if you go to the library to check out a book. From our library, you can check out a piece of equipment. And you can check that out for 30 days, free of charge. You borrow it, gives you the opportunity to really kind of try something before you buy it. And then really making a kind of an informed decision whether it's really going to work for you or not. These are to your door. Anywhere in the state of Indiana, we'll ship it to you or we'll bring it to you, depending on what works best for the type of equipment you want to borrow. Talked a little bit about kind of the breadth of equipment that we have. We have portable ramps, tablets, computers, adaptive keyboards, adaptive mice, mounting solutions, all sorts of equipment available for folks to borrow, again, for 30 days, and to be able to try some different things out. Along with that, Justin or Steve on our team, Justin and Steve kind of oversee the demo and loan program. They can also do demos with you. So if you're interested in borrowing a piece of equipment, but you would also like someone to come out and kind of show you some of the bells and whistles before you just kind of jump into it on your own, Justin or Steve on our team can come out and meet with you for 20 or 30 minutes, give you what we refer to as test drives, kind of showing you the bells and whistles of the particular piece of equipment, and then they can leave it with you for 30 days. Just a great way to get your hands on something to really figure out if it's going to work for you. I don't know about you, but I've bought lots of things over the years that I thought was going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and realized after I get it and open up the package and I start using it, after about a day or two, my excitement wanes. It ends up collecting dust in the closet. And so just a great way to be able to try again something before you buy it. Also wanted to tell you about the depot. The depot is a place where we take in old assistive technology and computer equipment. We fix those things up and then we give those away to people throughout the state of Indiana. We do a lot of computer recycling. So we take in donated computers, wipe it of all their previous data, install Windows 10 and a fresh copy of Microsoft Office, and we give those away to folks throughout the state of Indiana who have a documented disability. This would be available for you or any of your clients. There is a waiting list. It's a donation-based system. I think last year we gave away about 260 computers. So we give away quite a few computers, especially nowadays when telehealth has become such an important part of our lives if we're trying to stay in communication with family, friends, healthcare providers, and other folks. Having telehealth equipment, a computer with a built-in camera and a microphone for us to be able to connect to the internet and have a conversation with folks. Social isolation is a big deal. And so we've really seen that program kind of explode with the need of people needing types of devices to be able to help with social isolation and being able to just be in communication with family and friends. But a great way to be able to reuse technology. If you have technology that you're no longer using, you don't know where to send it, we'll take it, we'll fix it up if we can, and give it away to folks who might have a need. So keep that in mind about the In-Data Depot. The other thing we do is we have an alternative financing program. Even though you might borrow a device and you find that it's the greatest thing, there's still a cost associated with that. You still would have to purchase that. And so with the alternative financing program, we're able to give folks low interest extended term financial loans, anywhere from $500 to $35,000 to do all sorts of things. You could buy an iPad with an app, or you can go out and if you have a vehicle that needs to be modified or a home that needs to be modified in some way, shape, or form to give you better access, just gives you that opportunity to be able to use those funds to be able to then make those accommodations for yourself, way to be able to purchase your own assistive technology. It is a bank loan, and so you do have to pay it back. It's not a grant, but we have worked with Star Financial, an Indiana-based bank, to be able to help us provide very low interest rates and extended term arrangements so that we can minimize the monthly payment for folks. So another way for you to then reach out and purchase your own assistive technology. That's all through the In-Data project. I'd also be remiss if I didn't point you to JAN. I don't know if you've heard of JAN before, but JAN is the Job Accommodation Network, and it provides one-on-one guidance on workplace accommodations. It's through the Office of Disability and Employment Policy. It's based out of West Virginia University. If you haven't been to their website, they've got some great resources to be able to look at based on, whether you're an employer or an employee and you're looking for different types of accommodations that would meet different needs. You can plug in through A to Z, the tool that they have on their website. You can plug it, you can look things up by disability, by topic, by limitation, and they give you all sorts of helpful information about what might be useful for any particular situation you might run into. And so I wanted to be able to share that resource with you as well. Another resource is we've all heard and have been experiencing apps. If you don't have a smartphone or a tablet device, apps have really revolutionized kind of the assistive technology industry a little bit. I wanted to be able to point out a couple of resources for you to be able to find ways to vet through all of the different apps out there. And so 3 places that we typically send folks to be able to kind of learn more about apps. One would be Bridging Apps. That's a Easterseals affiliate based in Houston, Texas. They do an incredible job. They have a really robust search tool. But most importantly, I think what's great about their organization is they don't have manufacturers rating their own apps. They actually have parents and practitioners, therapists, and other folks who go in and actually do write up reviews and tell you about the pros and cons for different devices. And so you're hearing it from someone who really does use it and has a real purpose behind using it with their kids, children, and other folks. And so bridgingapps.org is the website. You can sign up for an account, and it's a really, really useful tool to be able to search for apps. Another one I would recommend for folks, AppleViz. AppleViz is everything about Apple and vision impairment. So if you're looking for apps for folks who have visual impairments, AppleViz is a great place to start. They have forums. You can ask questions and people will answer your questions. It's a great website to be able to kind of further your knowledge about what types of apps are out there for folks with vision impairments. And then another one I'll throw out there is Tools for Life, is Georgia's Assistive Technology Act program. So they're our sister program in Georgia. They have a really nice tool as well. And so you can go look at their website. Allows you to be able to kind of break down what you're looking for based on the device, based on the need, and be able to find apps that are appropriate for the individuals that you're working with. Again, it's all because there are millions of apps out there. And it's really hard to sort through them all and to be able to find the ones without spending $1 here, $1 there. It's really important to be able to vet through those before you start purchasing ones that you find out after you've purchased it and downloaded and tried it that really didn't work for you. And so some great app resources for folks. Just looking at the questions and answers real quick. After the trainings and webinars, will the recordings be available? I think that's probably for ARC. There was a question about, do we take Apple computers and tablets? We absolutely do. That's a part of our depot. We take old computers, any type of computer, any type of tablet, we'll take those and we'll refurbish those and give those away to folks. Absolutely. So great question. Be remiss without talking about funding sources, because again, we did talk about equipment. There's a cost associated with assistive technology. There's lots of different places. Many of these you may know of or be a part of. Vocational rehabilitation, the Veterans Administration, public and private insurance, workman's comp, InData, which is our alternative financing program. All state AT programs provide an alternative financing program. So if you're not here in Indiana, you can find who your local Assistive Technology Act program is and work through them. Waiver programs, and then independent living centers would be another one that I would send folks to as potential funding sources, depending on what your need is and what type of equipment you're looking at. But if you have specific questions, reach out to us. We can help sort that stuff out for you and hopefully direct you to the most appropriate opportunity as far as funding is concerned. So work from home accommodations. We have all found ourselves working from home more often these days. I don't know about you, but early on, I was home most of the time. Now I'm back in the office about 3 days a week, maybe 4. But working from home was really difficult a lot of times. I had to kind of make some concessions and try to figure out how to make that work when you're in a house full of people. You're trying to do your work. You don't have the equipment that you have available at your workplace. And it got really, really hard. And so the first thing I thought I would just make note of is, I think for a lot of folks, working from home is an accommodation in and of itself. I think for a lot of folks with disabilities, transportation can be a major barrier to employment. Getting reliable access to reliable transportation to and from home is really challenging and isn't always available, and isn't the easiest thing to navigate most of the time. And so, really being able to work from home does open opportunities for folks. It cuts down on stress, limits our travel time, and oftentimes it's less expensive to be able to work from home. And so working from home is an accommodation, and I just wanted to be able to tease that out. When you are working from home, as far as assistive technology is concerned, there are a lot of tools directly on whatever device you would use. And so the first thing I want to talk about is the impact of tablets and smartphones. With tablets and smartphones, they know a lot of different things, and they have a lot of accessibility built right into them. The first thing is they know where you are. They have a GPS in it, so they can tell with a relative degree of accuracy where you are in the world. They know how fast you're moving. They've got an accelerometer built into them. They know how you're holding it because they've got a gyroscope. So if you're holding it upside down or you're holding it upside right, you'll see the screen change orientation. It can tell how much light is in the room because it uses your camera to be able to judge what kind of lighting you're in. It'll dim your screen for you. Knows what you're saying, so you can talk to it, get it to do different things for you using those smart assistants like Siri or voice dictation. What I love about them is they're very small, they're compact, they're easy to take with you, and they can mount or be positioned just about anywhere. So if you're in a wheelchair, they can be connected to those. If you're at your desk, they can be moved around and positioned so that you can then see it and use it in the best way possible. And I think really what makes them special is they are arguably the most accessible devices ever made. So this is just the built-in accessibility within an iPad. And then Android devices are very similar in nature when you think about accessibility. With accessibility, you have built into mobile devices, you have a full-fledged screen reader, you have a magnifier so you can blow the screen up, take it down to whatever size makes best sense for you. You can change the text size, the image sizes. There are things for hearing, for physical and motor issues. If you don't have a difficult time using touch screens, you can adjust that. The iPad a year ago came out with voice control, and it's phenomenal, allowing you to be able to just simply talk to your device and be able to control everything on your device. It's phenomenal in what it can do and offers folks. There's also things for folks who have cognition or intellectual developmental disabilities in there as well. If you're a practitioner and you're trying to work with them, there's something called guided access that's on the bottom right-hand side, but that can help you limit the person's ability to go outside of a particular app or access certain tools within the app that you're working with them on. And so lots of different built-in accessibility tools. And the great thing about that is the apps that are created for mobile devices often have the ability to take advantage of some of the accessibility that's already there and allow you to be able to then have a more accessible app experience as well. And so think about the built-in accessibility. There are lots of things there. And so take a look at that when you get a moment after our presentation. Open up your phone, go to the settings menu and find the accessibility options, and take a look at some of those things because there's some great tools just right there built into your devices. Next thing would be built-in accessibility for PCs. In your control panel on your computer, your Windows computer, you can go to a place called the Ease of Access Center. And they've got all sorts of things. They've got ways to be able to change your pointer size, to be able to add contrast, increase your text size so that if you have vision issues, you can make those things larger, easier to see. Voice input's been built into Windows computers for a long, long time. And it's actually pretty good. I've had a few folks over the years that I've worked with, and they prefer it over some of the third-party assistive technology tools that are out there. Sticky keys and different things that you can do with the keyboard to make it easier for folks with limited dexterity in their fingers to be able to use and do multiple keys when they're doing keystrokes that require 2 or 3 keys at a time. There's a magnifier, and there's also narrator, which gives you audio descriptions. So there's lots of, again, built-in accessibility right there in your computer, your Windows computer. And the same thing is true for Mac. Mac has just as much accessibility built into it as the Windows computer in your tablets. Zoom is a screen magnifier, VoiceOver is a screen reader, got dictation so that you can control the whole computer just simply with your voice. Both Windows and Mac have a built-in assistant, Siri and or Cortana, depending on the operating system that you work with, where you can just ask them questions and they'll come back with reasonable answers most of the time. And then again, the same kinds of keyboard functionality for folks with limited range of motion and dexterity issues are built right there into the Mac. And so I would encourage you on the Mac, just go to your setting or system preferences under accessibility and check some of those things out as well. You know, I think one other thing just to mention about home accommodations is just the accommodation portability. I think this is something to think about. So whatever accommodations worked in your office, hopefully they transfer well to the remote working environment. Sometimes you'll think and find out that they work better, and that, you know, in a home you may have less noise and more privacy, but that sometimes can be challenging. But when you're thinking about whatever device you might use, especially given these days, what you might use in the workplace, you might also consider, would that work well for me at home? Because we just don't know what would come down the pike with COVID-19, and you might find yourself working more and more at home rather than at work. And so think about that stuff. And then, you know, there are some things to be thinking about with remote tools. We're using Zoom today. Really happy with how accessible Zoom is for a lot of folks. It's mostly keystroke driven. But thinking about when you're doing remote meetings and you're doing telehealth or telemeetings like this, thinking about what those accessibility options are. Today we're doing closed captioning using Google slides, and that's an accommodation that Google built right into it. It's using artificial intelligence to be able to then produce the captions right there for us, and that's amazing and awesome. And thinking about what those tools can provide as far as accessibility to folks if you're working with individuals. We do have some resources on our website. That's the website right there. It's available in the slide deck after the presentation if you want to download those and look at those a little bit more. But in conjunction with BOSMA, we put together some resources for folks who use Zoom and Microsoft Teams and allowing them to better use those. So yeah, just thought I would turn you onto those as well. So let's talk a little bit about ergonomics at home. Ergonomics, the dictionary definition can be defined as the process of designing and arranging workplaces, products, and systems so that they fit the people who use them. Basically, what we're really trying to do with ergonomics is hopefully increase your productivity and efficiency while reducing discomfort and avoiding repetitive motion injuries. And so with that, you know, I think we've all found ourselves, I know I did initially too, working at home I actually had a folding table, or it's actually a TV tray, if you will, set up in a back bedroom, trying to stay away from everybody else that was at home. I have 2 daughters and a wife. She was working from home. The girls were doing school from home, and it got really, really challenging for me to be able to kind of get everything out there and positioned correctly for me. It was starting to make my neck hurt, my back hurt, my wrists hurt, and those types of things. And so just a couple of do's and don'ts. I'll just kind of run through these a little bit for you. Alternate between standing and sitting. You know, our bodies were made to move. And so any way that we can do to be able to change positions throughout the day, to be able to sit up or sit down, stand up, that's an important thing. I think a lot of us should really think about how we hold our tablet or phone. A lot of times it's down in our lap as we look at it and we're hunched over looking at those types of things. If you can hold it up directly in front of your face, that's going to be able to help your neck and produce less strain on your neck. And then something to do also is to really check your posture every once in a while. On the slide, it talks about 20 minutes, but just think about it. Think about it every once in a while. Maybe set a timer to be able to then think about, how am I sitting? Do I need to readjust? What should I do? And so some really just do's and don'ts of ergonomics. This is kind of what the initial look at my home when I first started working from home, trying to stay away and not be bothered and trying to get my work done. You might all relate to what that picture looks like. But really, I think something to consider is try to have a dedicated workspace if it's possible. I know that's not possible for a lot of folks, but if you can, that would be great. That way your equipment doesn't move around. You don't have to set it up every day or tear it down every day. It can stay in one place. Um, and use whatever you have: pillows, books, shoe boxes, toilet paper you stack up. Find a good chair if you can. Try not to lay in the bed or sit on the couch, at least not all day. Something to consider with that, because I just wanted to show you, this is actually a coworker of mine. It's his workstation at home. He took a picture of it. He has a young daughter at home. He found a TV tray, or kind of in the bed tray, kind of put it up on his kitchen counter, found a shoe box, and really kind of made a workstation for him, so where he could have his laptop up high so he could stand, his keyboard down low so he could type while he worked. And that seemingly worked for him, but that's just all things he had in and around his home, and he was just trying to piece together something that would work for him. So I guess the lesson is just get creative, be creative in your setups, figure out what works best for you. And so just some things to consider there. I want to jump into mental wellness, talk about that for just a second. The global pandemic and all that surrounds it can have a negative impact on our mental health. And so I think there have been lots of studies that there is increased anxiety, increased depression, fear, confusion, irritability, kind of powerlessness or hopelessness. And so if you're experiencing some of those, I just wanted to kind of share with you, 7 or 8 different apps that might be able to help and provide just a little bit of respite from some of those feelings. So the first would be Headspace. Headspace is an app. It's got hundreds of guided meditations and mindfulness tips. I use that one myself. I also use Calm down below. Calm has some guided meditations. It's got some sleep stories, some breathing programs, and just again, those 2 apps just give you the opportunity to take a break and have something to help you fill that break time with some really useful ways to be able to clear your mind, breathe a little bit. And for me, it seemingly helps quite a bit. There's another app called 10% Happier, an insight timer. 10% Happier is kind of the same as above, a little bit like Calm, a little bit like Headspace, but also features some specific coronavirus sanity guides. And so it's got some information in there specific to kind of the mental health aspect of what coronavirus has created. And then the insight timer, again, guided meditations. It'll actually allow you to get into any number of discussion groups with other folks who are interested in having conversations in and around mental wellness and health. And so might be another way for you to engage and to be able to find a little bit of respite from the feelings of hopelessness and fearfulness and anxiety and fear and depression. A couple other ones, Happify and Talkspace. Happify, what I love about this one is it's got a lot of games and activities that can really help with anxiety, for parenting, and those types of things. Talkspace is one where you can actually connect to a therapist. It's pretty inexpensive compared to what you would experience with a regular therapist. So $49 a week is pretty inexpensive when you start talking about meeting with the therapist regularly. Anxiety reliever. This gives you some audio sessions that help you focus on relaxing and overcoming anxiety and stress. And Reflectly, That uses artificial intelligence to kind of help you structure and reflect upon daily issues. So whatever you've come across that day, it kind of uses artificial intelligence to kind of help you think through that space. And so some different apps that can be really helpful should you have issues in those arenas. There's also a lot of no-tech solutions for folks. And so, you know, there are many things we can do to maintain some kind of level-headedness during this time. You know, taking the opportunity when the opportunity arises to get some exercise, to get outside, to read, to enjoy family and friends, personal time. Sometimes you just need to take a breath through a mask, of course, obviously, given the time that we live in, but take a breath, help others if you can. Sometimes that's a real relief as well, but some no-tech solutions to be able to kind of think through and how do I get to a better mental health status. And so some different options as far as mental health would be concerned for folks. So staying social, I'll hit this a little bit. Communication obviously can be tricky, especially during stay-at-home orders and when there's mandatory face mask orders and the other issues created by the pandemic. Even when you're wearing a mask and you're having a conversation, that can be really challenging because you're not, I don't know about you, but I read facial expressions when I communicate with folks. And sometimes that's really hard to be able to figure out exactly how they're saying something, or I hear the words, but I'm not exactly sure what kind of context they're coming from because I can't read facial expressions. And again, being distant, you know, we're all communicating through Zoom and other kinds of telehealth applications. That can be really challenging for folks just because it's different. You can't convey context and see body language or facial expressions through communication, and so sometimes it's just hard to communicate, especially while we're trying to social distance. I think masks, you know, specifically for folks who are hard of hearing, make communication really difficult. They rely a lot of times on reading lips for help with communication, and so that can be really challenging. There are a lot of different speech to text apps that can assist with comprehension and understanding. A couple of those would be Microsoft Translator. This is a great app. It's absolutely free. It's made by Microsoft. It's available on Android or Apple. And it allows for users to speak or type or have their words translated from English to English, or if you're even speaking with someone who doesn't speak English, maybe speaks a different language, you can actually have whatever they say translated back to you as well. So Microsoft Translator is a great app. It's free. Otter AI is one that I use a lot. I find it a real simple way to have a conversation, especially in a pinch if I'm talking to someone who's deaf or hard of hearing. Anyways, what it does is it does instant transcription, and that can be turned into searchable notes. And so for the first 600, this is a free app up to 600 minutes a month. So up to 600 minutes a month, I can lay it down on the table in front of me while I'm having a conversation with somebody else. And it transcribes everything I say and everything the other person says. And then what it does is once it's done, it turns it into a text note. Once it's in the text note, it will also search for keywords inside that note. And so that if we were talking about a particular topic that had a particular keyword, I can find that keyword and just click on it, and it will highlight the keywords throughout whatever was transcribed for me. Otter AI is a really great tool. And again, it's free for about the first 600 months, and then it's you can pay for an unlimited amount of minutes beyond that if you want, but that's through Google. Or I'm sorry, I don't think it's through Google. Otter AI, what I do love about it, it is cross-platform. It works on all Android or Apple products, and then would also work directly through your browser if you needed it. So you don't have to have you don't have to have a tablet or a phone either. It can work directly on your computer. And then the other one here is Ava. Ava is another one that's instant transcription. It does something a little bit different. If you're in group discussions, everybody can pull their phone out. They can connect to the Ava app. You plug in a unique meeting ID. And then really what happens on the person's device that needs it, they will see everybody's speech bubble pop up. And so as people talk in turn, you will see and be able to identify who around the room said what in their little individual speech bubbles. And so it's a great way to be able to have group conversations or small meetings, if you will. And so AVA would be another speech to text program. Again, very helpful for folks who are hard of hearing. However, it could really work well for a lot of folks as we wear masks and we interact with each other. Obviously, video chats are something that we use quite a bit too. We're using Zoom or Ring Central today, which is a product of Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, FaceTime, Google Duo, and the list goes on and on. I think the most important thing, and we kind of touched on this earlier, is think about the accessibility. Who is your audience going to be? What type of accessibility will they need? And to be able to think about the tool that you use to make sure that it has those things built into it. I think the other thing to think through as well is, again, thinking through the audience member. What are the things that they need to do on their end to get the best experience out of that? And that may be connecting a little bit earlier or setting up a practice session with them to make sure that they understand the tools that they're going to be using. And so there is some things that you can do to be able to help them get a better experience out of using video chat through these telehealth or online meeting tools that we use today. And then smart speakers are another way. We're seeing lots of people start to use smart speakers in unique ways to address kind of a new phenomenon called social isolation. Maybe it's not really new, it's been there a long time, but we're really calling it out during COVID, that there's social isolation. Maybe it's among seniors, or I would argue that maybe even among persons with disabilities are there too. And with Amazon Echo and Google Home and some other smart speakers, you can do video calls now if you have the right device and it has a screen on it. And so we're seeing lots of people purchase Echo devices or Google Home hubs and be able to set that up and amongst, you know, maybe it's a friend or a family member that they're communicating with, and you can just say, hey, call Jim, and then up on their screen in their family room, you can have a video chat with them. Facebook Portal and really the new Amazon Echo hubs, they actually will follow you around the room. So if you're having a conversation with someone and they need to be moving and doing something different in and around the room that you're in, it'll actually follow them. It's got some motion sensors to be able to follow you and to be able to have a better conversation and a better experience using a smart speaker. And then really, I think, again, we talk, this is low cost, no cost, right? Or low cost. It's the good old fashioned telephone. We've always had the ability to communicate. In fact, I find communication is one of those things in our world where we have so many methods, yet it's something that we really struggle at, is just being in communication with one another. Call in and check in on folks, have a conversation with them, you know, help combat what they call video fatigue. They call it Zoom fatigue. That's a new term they're using because we're all online so much. And then really, it's still probably the #1 way to communicate beyond text messages and all those other kinds of things. It's still a great way to communicate with others. And so really to kind of bring it all together for you, you know, obviously COVID-19 has changed our work life for everyone. No one's kind of outside of that. And as we kind of adjust, there are accommodations that can help folks, everyone, especially those with disabilities and those without, to really stay productive, employed, socially, and mentally healthy. And so there's lots of opportunities with the technology tools that we have, the apps and other kinds of ways to help people continue to be productive and go about their daily life. And so I'm going to open it up for questions. I have a few other things I can kind of jump into if we want to, but I wanted to make sure we get through questions and leave enough time for that. And so
thank you, Brian. We appreciate all the great information. We do have a few questions. The one that popped up was about, after the training and webinars, will the recordings be available to access online? The answer to that is yes, they will. Next week, everything will be from the conference sessions this week will be posted on the ARC's YouTube channel. If you go to arcind.org and click our YouTube link in the upper right-hand corner, it will take you right to our channel. So everything will be up early next week. Watch social media for more details. Another question that came in is, what about apps vision that don't Apple phone and resource sheet we can look at, and what be for good phones, tablets? You talk about Apple, but what about tablets? So
yeah, I think that also kind of maybe coincides with the one below there too. So yeah, there are apps. What you'll find is that there are apps that work on certain platforms. And so one of the most phenomenal apps, I think it's one of the best apps ever created, in my opinion. The one that I show everybody, no matter who I meet with, would be Seeing AI. Seeing AI is an app, but it's made by Microsoft, but it's only for Apple phones. And so you kind of get left out if you're on a Google tablet or whatever. However, but there are other apps that work in very similar ways. And so I think the question is, what about Android, and is there a breakdown on what works on what particular tablets or platform? I can get you a resource sheet. We actually did a training back in the summer. I think it was in July, a full day training on apps. And we kind of broke that down for folks a little bit, and put some resource sheets out there. I'll try to make sure to get that out to folks. I'll try to maybe send that over to you, Jill, if I can. But I would check that out. But also those tools, those places I talked about earlier, talked about bridgingapps.org, and we've talked about Tools for Life. Those programs and their search tools will allow you to say that you can tell them what type of device you have, and so that it'll automatically sort out the apps that don't work with a particular platform, if you will. So something to think about there. I can get you a list, but you might also, while you search, go to those resource pages and look at through their search tool and check what platform you use and be able to see what specifically works with your device.
If anybody else has any questions, we have a few minutes left. Please go ahead and enter those into either the Q&A or the chat box. And Brian, if you want to move on to one of the other things that you have while we're waiting to see if there are any more questions.
Sure. The first thing I just wanted to bring you out to is I was going to bring you out to my website. And so I was going to bring that up. And I'll bring that and share it again. Bring that up in front of you. This is the Eastersealstech.com website. This is Indata's website. This is where you can come in and kind of find some useful tools. So if you're interested in the loan library, you can click on See or Try a Device. If you're interested in the depot to receive a donated computer, one that's been refurbished, you can click on Receive or Donate a Device. If you're looking for funding, you can get help with funding. And then you can learn about our upcoming trainings. Down below, you'll find a resource hub. This is where you can get access to our blog, tech tips, podcasts, other kinds of information that we put out. But I wanted to bring you up to this resource tab. Under COVID-19. We have a whole bunch of resources that have been gathered up from different places, available on our website that specifically help talk about COVID-19 and provide some helpful information. So we have a social story up there. This is through our Kansas Assistive Technology Act program, but it talks about what COVID-19 is. So if you're working with maybe a person who has autism and they have a difficult time understanding why they've got a mask and why they need to socially distance themselves and those kinds of things, it's a social story to help explain that a little bit. We also have visual communication cards. I'll click on that and come back, but this is a great way for folks who are deaf or hard of hearing to continue to have conversations with folks, to be able to help relay information that are specific to COVID-19, about how they feel, what kind of symptoms they've had. This was done by Deaf and Hard of Hearing Services through the state. So it's a great way to be able to have some communication cards available to them. Come back over here. Ergo tips for working from home. and then also tips for cleaning your technology. I'll mention we take cleaning our library devices pretty seriously about our sanitization procedures and how we make sure, as we ship stuff out, that they're as safe as possible. It's really important. Technology is one of those things that we don't think often about. We don't want to get too wet. We don't want to ruin the electronics that are inside it, but it's still really important to clean those as best you can, because those are some of the dirtiest devices that we have. And so whatever your hand touches when you're out in the community, whether that's a gas pump, a shopping cart, or other kinds of things, the minute you put that into your pocket and you pick up your phone, you've transferred whatever germs were on those onto your phone. And our phones or our tablets or the other technology that we have become some of our more dirty devices. And so there's some tips for helping to clean some of those things for folks. And so I just wanted to send you out there. If you're interested in looking at our loan library, this is what it would look like for you. So if you come to our loan library and you're interested in borrowing, let's say, an iPad, you can just simply type iPad in the search word as a search word. It'll bring that up. And it should return back a bunch of different things that relate to iPads, and so you can actually check out stuff. So if you're interested in something, you can click on it. It'll tell you a little bit more about it, what that device is, how much it costs, where you can go get it, and then you can say initiate loan for this item. And so that'll then let us know, or alert us, let us know that you're interested in borrowing that device, and then we'll get back in touch with you about getting it to you, and for wherever you are here in Indiana. So a great way to be able to check out equipment, try it out for a little bit, see if it really works for you, and is what you thought it is.
All right, well, Brian, thank you so much it was a lot of great information. I've been getting a lot of emails asking for handouts and other things. So if you can get those to me, I will be sure that they get out to everybody on the session today. Thank you so very much. Thank you, everybody who joined us, and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, take care. Thank you, Jill.